those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Cecilia Tavel. So currently I'm handling the customer success programs at Tatango, and I've been here for just about 3 years, and love working with all of you guys, sharing best practices and helping you gain the most out of Tatango. If you have any questions for me directly after the session, you can just email me. My email address is just cecilia@tatango.com, and I'll be happy to stay in touch and collaborate. So for today's agenda, we're going to be talking about how to use data in Tatango to understand the status of onboarding. We'll also talk about identifying common roadblocks in your process so that you can execute a plan and course correct as needed. We'll also talk about setting up programs to enable teams to focus on the right customers at the right time. And some of the vehicles of doing that are via success plays and automation via campaigns when appropriate. So to start talking about the onboarding process, and this can be really specific to your particular business and your use case and how you're structured organizationally, but at the high level, what is that process like? Do you have a high-touch process? So is there a assigned resource with every onboarding customer? And do you have a low-touch process? And it could be both. So in certain cases, enterprise or very high-level customers, you may need a lot more hand-holding during the process. And for some customers, or maybe some simpler processes or simpler use cases, maybe there's a self-onboarding process that can be easily automated with a low-touch model and potentially leveraging Tatango's campaigns. Who owns the process? So do you have a dedicated team? Is there an onboarding team, or does this fall into the hands of the CSM? We've seen all types of situations and all types of structures for this, so it's really interesting to learn how each specific organization handles that, and the best practices that go along with that really will depend on the specific process of how you're currently running that today. How long is your onboarding? So one of the things in Tatango that you can do is really get alerted and proactive when the onboarding process is taking too long. So if we're tracking that as data, it's going to be really valuable for you as far as Tatango is concerned in execution and course correction. What are the key milestones in your process? Does Tatango know about these milestones? Where is that information being tracked? And would it be valuable for Tatango to know what these key milestones are so that we can build processes around that? Any of the steps automated? Is anything that a customer goes through in their onboarding process, can that easily be automated to allow them to self-service themselves so that your team can have a little bit more time in their hands? Where do you currently track everything? So is there a separate system? Where does your team keep track of progress in your onboarding process? And then again, does Tatango know about this? So these are kind of the things I want to think about. Some of the things could already be in Tatango, some of the things maybe not. Where is the kind of the system of record, and what information could Tatango benefit from in knowing so that your team can have better processes or more refined programs with the help of Tatango. One of the reports or visuals that can be created with the help of Tatango is, as an example screenshot that I have. We'll also look at the demo instance just to look at some of the ways that you can create some of these. But this is one example that we have where this report actually shows you the 3 buckets of customers that are going through onboarding right now. So there's healthy customers, and health again is related to your definition. So it's something that you would define centrally, but visualizing and tracking and having the team view the results and kind of keep progress in check is available via the reports components in Tatango. So we're looking at the 3 buckets of customers. Customers that are doing well, customers that are in average health, and customers that are at risk. Also broken down by the components on the right side. So we can see how they're doing by contract value, by our onboarding assessment. So is onboarding, is this a complicated onboarding, or is it a simple, straightforward onboarding? and also by the success manager. So it gives you kind of visibility at a high level, more of a dashboard type of view. Now, there's also a way to track milestones. So if Tatango knows about the process and the specific milestones that your customers journey through in their process with onboarding, we can easily create segments and then build reports to show you how many customers are within each bucket. So if we look at this particular screenshot, we have 36 customers that are in the kickoff call phase, which means that really the kickoff call hasn't happened yet. And why do we have so many customers in there? Do we have a really good month or quarter, or are we simply having issues with getting the call scheduled? So there's a couple of ways to kind of look at this information and understand where we potentially have bottlenecks. It also looks like we're really behind on configuration. Maybe this is a very time-consuming process on our end. Maybe we need to build out our professional services team or get more resources staffed up so that we can get through the configuration piece, as it is a time-consuming and heavy investment in labor, and maybe we need to kind of rethink of how the team is structured. So if we have this kind of information at our fingertips, we can easily segment and visualize that in reports to allow the organization to understand where these bottlenecks are and how to course correct from there. This is just another way to view kind of by the date, the phases that the customer journeys through, again, to identify bottlenecks. This is a way to break down and edit the components of a report. So instead of looking at it kind of from like a bar type of view, it allows you to create a table. So this is a table view that it can show you how to do in a report. The other benefits of tracking information and kind of having these types of reports available is the ability to have a very specific conversation with the team to understand what to do and where to focus and how to improve. So you can have a very catered conversation with each one of the team members, looking specifically at their portfolio of onboarding customers to understand where they have kind of the gaps and delays, and where do they have most of the bottlenecks, so that you can discuss how to alleviate. Maybe they're just overburdened, maybe there's just too many challenging customers that they're facing with, and kind of allocate the resources appropriately, and maybe reshuffle some of the accounts to other team members that are maybe doing a little bit better. Visualizing information. So we already talked about reports. There's another great way to visualize the information, and that would be under the executive console part of Tatango within the health section. Within that section, you can actually create specific segments that are looking at particular journey phases of an account. This is an example that we have from a recent case study that we published in the user blog with one of our customers. And this is kind of a similar example that if you like how this looks, you can easily create this for your own business. But basically, having the segmentation to look at customers that are new, customers that have completed onboarding, customers that are after onboarding, and looking at their health. So you can really see how each segment of customers is doing, and allows the whole team to see how the organization is at each particular phase. Operationalization of onboarding. You can do that easily with success plays. So a lot of the steps that are very specific, and if there is a consistent process that the team follows, it's very easy to allow success plays to instruct your team on what to do at each phase of onboarding. This really simplifies and really gets everybody on the same page to make sure everybody's consistently following the defined process by the organization. And it really allows you to schedule these particular tasks via success plays when you encounter delays, or if there's specific risk criteria that has been identified, a success play can be executed directly to the specific CSM. So it really helps get everything structured and well organized for the organization. Another benefit of the success plays is allowing your team to be proactive and get in front of a problem ahead, of a disaster. So you can really be proactive and escalate early. Here's an example success play that we have set up when onboarding is delayed beyond a certain time frame. So in this particular case, we're looking at an onboarding account that has started with us, over 60 days ago and is still onboarding. So it's kind of a problem. So we need to actually get internal resources on the same page to make sure that we have kind of a group team meeting with sales and maybe other departments to make sure that we course correct and get the onboarding customer back on track. So that's one way to do it, is via success plays. Another example is taking extra care when you have not so positive reviews. And with NPS, at onboarding, if you're sending some sort of survey to understand how the customer rated your onboarding process, and if anything falls below like a 9, I would say you probably want to monitor the customer pretty closely in the next few days right after they've onboarded. And this can be a way for you to automate that. If Tatango knows the NPS score, if you're feeding that data to Tatango, then you can easily infuse that into a process, set up a success play to make sure that the responsible CSM has a specific process that they follow after a less than a stellar review is given. And this way it allows you to really hold the hands of the customer in the initial very critical phases right after onboarding to make sure that the next opportunity that you have to get feedback from them, that it's going to be really, really positive. So you'll get a 10. This is one way to do it, the success plays. I would say for customer process that is potentially scalable, or if there's something like more of a low-touch model where you can easily automate the specific steps that a customer navigates through in onboarding, you can do that via campaigns. So when appropriate, of course, in a low-touch environment, you can automate the communication to the customer based on how they're progressing with their phases of onboarding. So maybe they have to sign up, maybe they have to import data, maybe they have to set up specific tasks, maybe they have to configure something or integrate with something, and perhaps those things are easily automated. And you can really deliver a specific message to their inbox based on what they have achieved in their onboarding process or what they haven't achieved yet. So it really allows you to make this more of a seamless process without necessarily having an individual assigned to it by doing the campaign automation. You can also leverage campaigns for requests for feedback, check-ins, and any content and training delivery. So, during the right time in the customer's journey with you. So, for example, for us, at the end of onboarding, we always send an onboarding survey, and that survey comes out automatically once the particular status of a customer changes from onboarding to live. The survey is kicked out via campaign, and that's something that you can easily structure and set up as well. Tracking performance. So obviously, the goal and the aspiration is to do well and improve over time. So tracking team performance becomes really critical as well. You can visualize this kind of information also in a report. So by creating a segment, simply by segmenting the information for customers. And what I've done here, I looked at customers that went live in the last 120 days. I can see how my numbers fluctuate. I can see the trend line of customers that are transitioning to live. I can also see a breakdown by health. So I can see customers that are doing, there's a couple maybe that are in red, which is obviously not good. I would want to see the majority of my recently onboarded customers green, and then there's some yellow. So there's some work to be done. I can also see the breakdown by NPS. So I can see how many customers gave us a 10, a 9, etc., and also by success manager. So it really gives me and the team a way to visualize it and keep track and monitor progress. So with that, I'm actually going to skip out of this and go directly to a demo environment within our demo instance of Tatango and highlight some of the areas we discussed. If you have any questions, obviously, you can type them into the window, and if you want any specific help on any of the configuration that I showed during the webinar, please reach out to us and we can help you work with us to get some of this configuration in your specific Tatango instance. But what I wanted to highlight today is what I already showed you in the Executive Console under Health. So this is where you can create really customized segments to track your own progress. Again, this type of view is specific to your own instance or your own user. So if you're changing any of the segments here, they're only going to affect your own user interface. So if you like what you configure and you want to share it with the team, you'll essentially have to show them how to configure the same in their own account. But what I wanted to show you here is a segment that I created called Onboarded in the Past 30 Days. So I see how my customers in that particular segment are doing. I see their health. I also see how many accounts are in that group and what is the total revenue representation there. So for you guys, if you wanted to create something similar, you can simply click on this little plus sign. You can add a segment. You can give it a name. And if you already have a list or a segment that defines a particular criteria that you're looking for, you can do something like this. This is what I've done. So I said in list, and then I have my recently onboarded customers. So I don't need to replicate any of my criteria again, since I've already defined it. So by adding it, when I click on OK and Save, I will get my new segment, and this is the one that I have over here. So that's one way to visualize information. The other way, of course, is in the segment section. So we have a very rich filtering area where you can actually specify anything, regarding your onboarding customers or any other type of customer. What I have done already is I created several lists or segments to look at all my onboarding customers, my onboarding customers that have been in delay, so they're delayed past 60 days, and recently onboarded. So if I look at my onboarded delayed, this is the list we're going to focus on right now. What I'm doing here is I'm looking at my paying onboarding customers and looking to identify anyone that's still onboarding and their contract started over 60 days ago. Because for us, the goal is to have customers completely live and onboarding within 30 days. So 60 days is a bit lengthy for us. And from here, I actually want to work on improving this and escalating early, which is what I'll do. And I'm actually going to launch a success play from here. And this is how you can do it as well. So when you build your segments, you can launch directly into a success play and define a process for your team to follow in this particular situation. So you can give this success play a name, a description. When you click on continue, this is where you can actually specify what is the task that you want your CSM or the responsible person to do. So you can say internal escalation meeting, and you can make it very specific so that everyone knows exactly what that means. You can assign it to the appropriate success manager. You can specify who it's assigned by, what is the priority and due date. And once you get this task added and continue, you have another opportunity to review your success play, and then you can activate it. So once it's activated, there's going to be a set of tasks assigned to the appropriate accounts, and your team members are going to, hopefully jump in and course correct with this particular account that's struggling. So that's one way to operationalize, is with success plays. Now, the other way to automate and move onboarding forward is to use campaigns. So campaigns is our way to communicate via very targeted email messages to the right customers at the right time in their onboarding journey. So I would say things that you can offload, things that don't require high touch, can easily be managed with a campaign. And if the onboarding process is very straightforward and it just requires a few set of configuration tasks that can easily be controlled on the customer side, you can simply use campaigns to let them know what they need to do next, what they have achieved so far, and give them some instructions as to what needs to happen. And so campaigns are ideal for that in situations where you can automate and streamline and do kind of a more of a low-touch model with your customers. Now I want to jump into the reports really quick as well. So I have a couple examples here. One is looking at all onboarding for the customers that are currently in onboarding, broken down by the specific customer and how long the customer has been with us. So this essentially shows me that I have 24 customers currently in onboarding. I can also see my trend line on each date for the past 30 days. And then as I scroll down to the bottom, I have sliced my report by these components to look at my contract start dates. I can see it by contract value, and I can see it by success manager. So it looks like in this particular case, if I wanted to see if I need to reallocate resources, it looks like Ron has quite a few customers that are currently onboarding, and I only have one. So maybe there's something that we need to do, a restructure, and maybe offload some of the work that Ron currently has. So this is another way to look at this information to see how to balance things out for the whole team. By contract value, and again by the start dates. As I mentioned before, the way this data is displayed, you can edit it and then change it. So if I go into edit mode, I can actually control how I see this information. And let me maybe do this for the success manager. I can edit the breakdown, and I can see it in the table view. And when I click on OK, I'll have a table with that information, and I'll simply see the counter of how many accounts are in each CSM's responsibility right now. So that's one report. Let's go back. There's another one that I wanted to highlight really quick that looks at all the customers that have recently onboarded. And so right now I have 13 customers that have recently transitioned from onboarding to live. I can also see it by success manager and contract value and health. So it looks pretty good. I mean, it looks like I have mostly green customers. I have some yellow. It's good that I don't have any reds because if you just recently got someone live, you definitely don't want to see any red there. And again, I can also compensate my team. Maybe part of our MBOs is to compensate team members on how many customers they have onboarded. Looks like Erin is leading the pack, so or Robin, I'm sorry. Looks like she's gotten 6 onboarded recently. Erin has 3. So you can really see how to maybe gamify some of this and maybe get your CSMs to sort of compete internally to get as many customers live as they can and incentivize them to do so. So that's another way to visualize and kind of track progress, give everybody visibility as to where they are, how the organization is doing via the reporting capability. So with that, I'm actually going to pause really briefly and see if we have had any questions here. All right, so let's see. So I wanted to go back to a couple of slides that I think you guys may have not seen as I was in a slightly different mode. So I'm just going to highlight some of the slides that we covered really quickly just to give everybody a chance to view them in a little better visibility. So this is the one that we talked about for reports to show status. So we had a different breakdown for all customers in good health, average health, and poor health, broken down by customer success managers and their onboarding assessment. Milestone tracking. So again, if you're tracking milestones and if Tango knows about them, we can easily expose that and visualize that for you in reports. Again, another way to analyze bottlenecks. And an ability to really focus and cater the conversation specific to the team member, so you can see how each individual team member is doing within each of the specific phases of onboarding. Visualizing information in the Health Console. So I showed you a quick example of how to build that in the Health Console, and this is just another example of what we have from a customer that we worked with in creating really customized segments based on the time frames that the customer goes through in their onboarding. Operationalizing via success plays, and so we walked through a quick example of that. And if you have any questions or would need some help in building success plays around your onboarding process, please work with us and your CSM. An ability to intervene early, so being proactive really helps, and getting in front of the potential problems early by executing and setting up success plays so that the right folks are involved and alerted right away is important. So we can definitely leverage success plays for that, as well as making sure that you are very much in tune with the customers that give you a lower than ideal NPS score. So really having an ability to kind of structure the success play around that, making sure you monitor the customer really closely right after they've onboarded. And automating via campaigns, so really setting up the specific low-touch campaigns that will make sense for customers that go through a very structured kind of self-service onboarding process. And then again, tracking your team, so allowing reporting capabilities that allow tracking for team performance, and also maybe gamifying that a little bit so that it becomes more fun for everyone to get everything done pretty quickly. So before we wrap up, I just wanted to highlight the resources that we have. So if you just remember the support.tatango URL, it takes you to our general site, but if you click on the training, this allows you to see all of our upcoming sessions. I would encourage you to sign up for any of the upcoming sessions that look interesting. We also have a lot of on-demand content that's available, and we also have hot tips of the week. So we've been doing these weekly, really cool little videos that allow you to really get up to speed and learn about different capabilities of Tatango within a really short time frame. So I hope this was helpful. Apologies for a little, not as optimal presentation of the slide deck, but I hope you were able to see the screenshots at the end. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope to see everybody again soon on our next upcoming webinar and any of the other sessions that we have scheduled. Thank you so much, and have a great afternoon.